Well, good evening, EKN Nation. Hello, folks. My name is Rob Howden, joined by David Cole for a new edition of our Face2Face here on the ekartingnews.com YouTube channel. It is, what is it, Tuesday, June the 25th, 2024. Kind of rolling right into the middle of the season. It's summer now. We're ready to rock. Lots of racing. Too much racing probably going on. Again, my name is Rob Howden. This is David Cole. We'll see how much Dave can play with us here today because Dave, a little bit of an internet issue at home in Michigan. You're struggling right now on the internet card.
Yeah, you just buffered there for a minute, so we'll see how long that goes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we had big storms come through 6 a.m. this morning. Luckily, we didn't lose power, but about 3 o'clock this afternoon, we lost internet. So I'm assuming it had something to do with probably clearing brushes or trees or something from somewhere and totally took down the internet in just our neighborhood. So waiting for that to come on board. They say sometime tomorrow morning, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, you haven't moved yet, so I don't know.
You're still going, David. That's good. So today's show, folks, as you know, lots of racing going on here through the middle half of the season. National events, of course, rolling. A lot of big street races going on as well. But the one we're going to be talking about here today will be happening actually on the opening weekend of August. And that's the IKF Sprint GrandNationals out at the Amarillo Kart Circuit in Texas, West Texas. Joining us for the Texas Sprint Racing Series is Brittany Lobaugh. We'll talk TSRS as well. Then we'll move as well into the IKF GrandNationals. Let's bring her in right now. David, can you do that? I don't even know if David can see me. There he is. So we think David's still in the game right now. Brittany, like we told you, David's struggling right now. He's got some carburetor issues on the laptop.
Yeah. He left the fuel in too long. He didn't clean it out before he put it away.
So listen, it's weird because you guys have been racing like for the last couple of months already, right? You started the Texas Sprint Racing Series back in February. I had a chance to actually be there. The USF Pro Championships were testing at the big track. I came over and watched. And I'll say this. I think it's the first time I've been there for one of your NOLA races. Man, the vibe was wild. When I was coming through the pits, it was packed. The racing was crazy. What a great way to start things off at NOLA. I'm sure you were really happy with that first round.
Yeah, it was nice to be back there because we hadn't been there. I think there were 2 years we skipped there. And so it was just really nice to be back there, and people really like racing that track. We did do a different configuration from before, and even that everybody was pretty happy, you know. So and we had a good group of people. We had a lot of entries that race. So
yeah, the KA senior class was massive. I had a chance to watch that one. I watched, I think, the senior 206 class. The racing was super tight, 2-3 wide at the line finishes. But for me, it was more, I hadn't been to one of your races in a while, and to roll in and get the vibe to start the season off, and you just felt like there was so much momentum. Everybody was fired up to get it underway.
Yeah, I mean, and it's cool to watch like my little regional series and all the people now. Like you rolled in and you knew half the paddock, which I don't know that you expected to feel like that, right?
Yeah, agreed.
You're like, oh, I'm not going to know these Texas people, and then you're like, oh wait, even I do that now. I'm like, wait, what? You're here? Like it's cool. It's really fun to see. And coming our way.
So almost 200 there. Then you go into speed sports in New Caney, just north of Houston. Obviously, one of the best tracks in Texas. Great numbers there, well over 200 there. Did you feel you were picking up momentum when you went to speed sport, or was there a lot of locals that maybe didn't make the trek all the way over to New Orleans?
I think there was a few locals, but we also, that event was back to, well, not exactly back to back, but almost back to back with the USPKS race. So it did help a little bit, I think. Okay. And again, it was fun. People, and the vibe there was like, wow, this is really cool. This is, you know, a lot of teams that maybe don't normally race with us, and just, you know, a different format, a different feel, a lot of the same faces, but different, you know, different vibes.
For those of us that weren't trackside, can you give us some information on the next round? That was that race at Kart Moto. So a new karting facility to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, so this was their first real race. They are like a club track, not exactly a club track, but a member track.
Is it MSR Crescent or Houston?
MSR Crescent. MSR Houston is in Houston, so this is Crescent. And then the kart track side is called Kart Moto. So Motorsport Ranch Crescent is the car part. And then like I said, Kart Moto is the kart track, and then they do like motorcycles and stuff like that as well. So the track's been there 4 years, maybe.
Okay.
But they kind of weren't ready to put on a race. We were going to try it a few years
I
ago.
remember
They
that,
had
yeah.
some permit issues and some things that finally got figured out. And it all kind of came together. Oh, we lost David.
Yeah, we lost David. He'll be back.
And so so it finally came together, and I know they had kind of like a dry run a few weeks before of, a little race that was around just about 100 people, and everybody was messaging me, we're not going to fit. We're not going to fit. We came in and we found space all over, and exceeded their expectation of what we were going to do. And I think the owner of the track was in awe, because he's like, we're gonna need more parking. Like, we're gonna,
That's
it
amazing.
was really cool for him to see. And then he walked by like the broadcast and he's like, we're on TV. Like, what, so it was really, really cool for them to see how far we brought them into the racing scene.
And were you happy overall with the weekend? Did the track race well? Did it, were you able to set it up logistically for the administration side of it for it to work well for you?
Yeah, it actually all came together really nicely. I think they left with a few laundry items for next year, but
Perfect.
almost every customer was like, man, this race is so good. We want this to be on the schedule next year. So it's really cool to see that feedback and to see that we all kind of pulled it off. And the facility was excited to make the updates, and they're like, okay, now we know, what we need to do, because you don't really fully understand until you've lived it,
I can imagine, right? They build this car track. Hey, we're going to build a car track here. This is what we're going to do. And all of a sudden, TSRS rolls in, and all of a sudden, boom! It's this big major event, right? Which I think is awesome. If you're tuning in right now here live on either Facebook or YouTube, again, Brittany Lobaugh from the Texas Sprint Racing Series, and of course the IKF Sprint GrandNationals happening the first week of August. Joining us here on the broadcast tonight, live broadcast. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in the comment section. We'll try to bring them into the show for sure. So 3 races down, 2 more to go. We mentioned before we came on off air that a big break in the action, right? Especially from the early May into the end of August. You've got an August 23rd to 25th race at Dallas Karting Complex, back to DKC, and then wrapping up again at Amarillo. What are your thoughts? What's the buzz around getting to DKC with the TSRS race?
Everybody's super excited to go back there. We haven't been back there. I think it was 18 or 17 that we were there last, and it's a whole new track. So even though we've been at the facility, they tore out the OG track and now have new ones. So, my biggest question so far has been which track, which way are we going? So I was actually up there this weekend looking at stuff, and we'll make our final decisions hopefully the end of this week or beginning of next week. We're pretty sure we know which track. We just haven't picked the direction and official layout yet. So I think it'll be really cool to be back at that track and add like another new. Most of our racers have never raced at that track.
Yeah.
So new to most of our racers track.
Well, that's great, right? That's one of the things you want when you're a regional racer. Go test yourself somewhere new. Go to a track you haven't been on, and of course, shout out to everybody from DKC for what they did. They had the big national track at one point. Always had those dreams of, hey, we want 2 tracks because we want to be able to run a race and have our rentals running at the same time. They were able to finally get that done. So that's going to be great. And again, that's the August 23rd to 25th weekend. You wrap things up. We'll kind of come back to this a little later, but you wrap things up in late September at Amarillo Kart Circuit. It kind of gives us a good kind of spin over to the fact that you're going there first on August 2nd to 4th for the IKF Sprint GrandNationals. But before we jump into the IKF talk, Brittany, what are the takeaways so far from this year's TSRS? Are you happy? Again, almost 200 in the first round, 227 round number 2, and 179 at Kartmoto. Could you even fit more people in? I don't know. What are your takeaways from the first half of the season?
I'm actually really happy with how the seasons went. And I think that most people were happy with the little break that we took this summer. They all, a lot of people want to take their vacations or go try the national circuit and do some other things. So this allowed our customers to kind of venture out wherever they wanted. And then kind of when they get back home, to come back and finish up the season. So it's been really, really good feedback. People have liked the track choices. Like I said, going back to NOLA was a huge hit this year. I know Kartmoto was was what I consider a success. We knew there were some skeptics, and so now that they've all seen it race as well and we pulled it off, the track's willing to add more parking and more space for us. So next year, and everybody's very excited about going back to DKC and having different tracks for every race this year. So I think it's going to be a really, really awesome year.
So let's then segue. Time to start talking about the IKF Sprint Grand Nationals again, August the 2nd to the 4th. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the racetrack, Amarillo Kart Circuit. I've had a chance to be there back, like you mentioned, back in like 16, 17, announcing for the old Texas Pro Kart Challenge. I raced there as well. I think it's a great track itself, racetrack for a Grand National. It races so well. I did the 206 category, which was a ton of fun. Let's just talk about that track, working with Kyle Yashinsky, everybody at the track. It's become this jewel in West Texas that's really added itself to the regional series. A bunch of different programs have come in to run there as well. So it's really become kind of a spotlight track in the West Coast.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because, from California, it's a little longer of a drive, but it's not, driving to Houston, right? Yeah. So I think it's like 18 hours max for most of them. We pull the Colorado crowd there and a few things since Kyle and his brothers have taken over. They've really made a ton of improvements. And, not that the old owner didn't do a good job, but his intention was never to do this.
That's it. Yeah.
So it's cool to see that he's doing so many different events and has the rental cart fleet and all that stuff now there. And it's a really, really fun track. Everybody loves to go, they got to go get their steak at the Big Texan, and they've got to go, spray paint the Cadillacs, the Cadillac Ranch. Like, there's some fun touristy stuff to do.
Yep.
But the track itself just races so well.
I love it.
Historically, we've been there in August almost every, I think last year was the only year we switched it up and changed the date, but we've been that first week in August in Amarillo for quite a while.
Yeah, it's again, fantastic racetrack for sure. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to the sport a little bit. The IKF, the International Kart Federation, was one of the founding programs, founding sanctioning bodies that started karting. The Grand Nationals was that one thing that everybody did every year, and it circulated around the country. It used to be like kind of a midweek kind of a thing as well. I think, into the weekend kind of deal where you could come as a family holiday. People would come Florida, the New York, whatever. They'd race up at Pat's Acres. They'd be racing down in Southern California, all the way across the country every year. Another track hosted the IKF Sprint Grand Nationals. And again, one of the big things, and I know you have them there, we'll come to this in a second. One of the most iconic trophies, of course, in karting over the many years is the Duffy, named after Duffy Livingstone, the Screaming Eagle to be on the pole. We'll bring those out because I know you have them there. Let's talk about the schedule. Let's talk about class structure before we go schedules. The IKF class structure, when it was picked up, SKUSA essentially bought and took over the IKF program, really focuses, Brittany, on that grassroots kind of regional level racing, right? Let's go through the class structure.
Yeah, so right now we currently have 11 classes offered on registration, but really that's because we had a lot of different people reaching out. Can we run this? Can we run that? And IKF Grands as a whole really only likes to run 9 classes. That way we can keep it light. You can still, like you said, have that vacation-y feel, right? Like you're not at the track all night long or all day long, and you can still go experience stuff with your friends and family. So the goal for me was, okay, I will offer them, and if we can get 10, we'll run the class. So whichever 9 classes get the 10 plus entries, then those will be the ones that will most likely run.
Yep.
And because as a region, we tend to run 206 heavy instead of masters, but we're finding a little bit more interest in the masters, 206 masters for this. And, we don't mind changing it up a little bit.
Of course.
This really to me is about what the people want to race, what they want to compete in. And I just want to give it that good family, comfortable, fun feel that the Grands should be, right? So we had a big push for kid karts, and I actually think that class might be the first to make the full 10,
I think that's so great.
Which is super awesome.
Yeah.
They won't run for the Duffy, but we're going to get them some really cool trophies and make it really fun for them either way.
Love it.
And then we have The micros and minis, the KAs, so we'll have KA junior, senior, master that are options for this. Regionally, we do really well with our KA master program as well.
That's gonna be big, yeah.
So I hope they all come out for this as well, because I think it's just a really fun class.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the 206 cadet junior, and then either 206 cadet junior senior, and then either, most likely it'll be either heavier masters, but you know, if the entries come out that everybody not opposed to running both. Like I said, I really want this year to be about what the racers want. I don't want me to be the person dictating or whomever else to be like, no, these are our classes and we're really strict. So, you know, the people that want to come out and race, I want to offer the classes that you want to be there for.
And you know, the beauty, Brittany, with that track, how long it is, you could run heavy and masters at the same time, right? You could run those together on track if you had to. No doubt.
Correct. We could, you know, if we don't have a lot of people wanting to run both classes, a lot of the people currently we're talking about running both classes. So if there's a lot of duplicate entries, then we'd have to separate them. But otherwise, we could run them together. And really, the caveat with IKF Grands is that, you know, to earn a Duffy, we need at least 10 people. Like I could offer a class with 5, but you're not going home with a Duffy, right?
That's it. Yep.
It really should be a more coveted trophy, not just like, well, yeah, everybody can earn one.
Yeah, IKF, I remember they used to call them jacket classes. People would show up and have like 2 or 3 racers to win the jacket, the IKF jacket. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to have enough drivers. So listen, to win that Duffy, I'm not sure if you've been working out yet today, but you want to bring that thing in? Like people don't realize how heavy this thing is.
The top alone is 14 pounds. I looked at the shipping box it came in because I was like, holy moly.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, I don't even know that I'm barely showing the whole thing on the screen.
It's amazing. And listen, folks, there are the legends of the sport have those in their trophy cases. Let's put it that way, right? That's the most legendary trophies.
Exactly. And like I said, it's heavy. It's like, I don't even want to hold the thing up for very long.
That's what I was going to say.
The micros and minis, I don't even think can hold them. Like when we have to just set them on the podium for them because
they're not going over their heads. There's
not raising them up.
No way.
I mean, the amount of push-ups they'd have to do that.
What about the Screaming Eagle?
The Screaming Eagle is actually, it's a little bit lighter, but it's still really cool. Really cool trophy.
That's qualifying. That's for qualifying on pole, correct?
Correct. So this is top qualifier earns the Screaming Eagle.
I love it. All right. And the crazy thing is that I know that registration is now open. I know you guys opened it a little bit early. The race, of course, isn't still for 5 weeks down the line, first week of August. But when David was putting together the notes, it's $4.99 entry fee for the weekend. Friday practice, race entry, and a set of tires. That's a smoking
literally
deal.
The cheapest national race you can go to all year.
Amazing.
Yeah, so you'll the format's a little different than our normal format. We wanted to follow the traditional like IKF Grands format. So it'll be about a half day of practice on Friday with qualifying on Friday, which normally we qualify on Saturday. But by doing that, we put all of the heats on Saturday and we'll finish up a bit earlier on Sunday to make it home in a reasonable amount of time. Almost everybody can get a ride home on Sunday unless they choose to stay and enjoy the scenes for, you know, an extra night.
Yeah. So then, warm up, 3 rounds of heat races on Saturday. So you got lots of track time, 3 wheel-to-wheel heat races, warm up, then Sunday just main events, which I think is great. I always love keeping the main events just a Sunday. If you have that kind of a weekend, you bring the schedule together, right? Like you said, you end earlier. You can have that celebration at the end as well when you're awarding the big trophies, right?
Right. Nobody feels like they're going to miss podiums, right? Like we're going to finish early enough that everybody should be able to make podiums easily and still get on their flight or get on the road to home at a reasonable hour.
Anything planned special for the weekend? Is there going to be lots of camp? I'm sure people will be camping out there at the track, right?
Yeah, so we expect lots of camping. So we do have some RV space in the paddock and all of that. And we're working on like a barbecue on Friday night. We haven't finalized all the details on that, but we're working on that. And just trying to do some fun stuff. So you know, some of them will be based on entries. The more entries we have, the more cool stuff we can throw out there, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, definitely working on that little barbecue or meal on Friday night for everybody. And I just want it to be like a really fun event. Not that our normal ones aren't, but Grands just has a different feel to
I
it.
was just gonna say, I mentioned earlier about how the Grand Nationals were kind of the coming together of all the IKF racers from New York, Florida, the East Coast, West Coast, and come together wherever they were, whether the teams were driving all the way across the country, up the Pacific Northwest, whatever it may be. It's a chance for everybody to get back together. And I know you guys have such a strong group of Texas drivers that race the Texas Sprint Racing Series. I know this race, I've already seen it a bit on social, right? Guys are coming in from Northern California. Cole Nelson is already talking about coming down. I know you've had talks with guys from Northern California, Southern California, Arizona, Colorado. People are coming in from all over for this race.
I think people are really excited. I try to do, a lot more promotion early, a lot more kind of talking about the history of IKF. I think when the transfer of everything of the history and the info on it, like it kind of lost itself there for a little bit. And so I really wanted to make sure we were educating people like why it's so cool. Some of the young little guys don't I don't say they don't get it, but they don't just know the full history, right? Like it's like when you go to a big national monument, like unless somebody tells you why it's cool and like what it means, you're like, oh, cool, Mount Rushmore, a bunch of old guys on a mountain, right? Like it doesn't mean anything unless you understand it.
Well, and over the years too, the families would live it. They would go every year, so the young kids would come in and be running juniors, then they would move up to seniors, and they all kind of lived it. Whether it was out at Batavia or at TNT or Pat's Acres, like it says, or Atwater or wherever the heck the race was in the days. It had that history. The IKF kind of fell away there for a while, and then of course people coming back in to revive it, take care of that history, make sure that the molds for the Duffys aren't lost. Right, it was an investment made to take control and preserve the history of the IKF.
Exactly. I just want to keep that nostalgia alive, right?
Yeah.
Like it's this at one time was bigger than Super Nats. Like it wasn't oh, this is your version. No, this was bigger. This was a huge deal to get to compete. This is what everybody used to save up for to go to. And so, we just want to keep that nostalgia alive and being, an IKF series. Because we don't just have the two strokes, we offer several classes. We just want to do it justice here in Texas.
The cool thing is you've got good support coming out of the industry as well. I know. Let's talk a little about some of the class sponsors that are already locked down, right? Because I know you've got a lot of them and good players in the sport for sure.
Yeah, we have like Gallery Furniture, which is a local Texas company. Anybody out of Texas knows how much they do for the state. And if you haven't heard of Mattress Mac and Gallery Furniture, you should totally look him up because he's awesome.
There you go.
CRG Nordum, so they're actually based here out of Texas. So they're great people as well. You have Alan Rudolph, again, based here out of Texas, but a national name. We've got P1 Engines, so out of California, although they've been doing a lot of racing here in Texas as well.
Jesus has been around. Yeah, they've been around many years.
Yeah, Jesus has been around a long time.
Yeah.
We've got TV Karts, who runs out of the Amarillo track facility. We've got Briggs and Stratton, actually, sponsoring one of their classes. So that's cool to see them kind of coming back a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah. We have Shaw Stickers and stuff. So they do graphics for a ton of racing customers. All of that. And then we've got BRT, which is Barron Racing Team. So they're awesome. I think we have room for one more sponsor and a few other places if people are interested. But we're just so grateful to have such good sponsors and people that really want to be a part of this.
Yeah, that's a great thing, right? Brittany, people, if they still want to be involved, if they're coming to the event, they can step up and they can help you out with the barbecue or whatever. There's always places where investment can come in. Hey, I'm going to sponsor something, poll awards, whatever it may be. There's if you want to get in there and contribute and be part of it, it's easy for you to kind of locate some money, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We you know, even if I don't necessarily have something earmarked, like we have, I think, one class left officially, and then like you mentioned, the barbecue. But you know, if somebody else wants to throw something out there, I mean, there's always something more, like another fun, friendly, like family friendly thing that we could do, right? You could
Yeah.
sponsor snow cones for everybody,
There you
or
go.
you know,
Yep.
whatever. I mean, you can come up with an idea, I can come up with one. There's always something, and it's hot in Amarillo, right? So like those kinds of things are always really fun, super appreciated things.
And for those who don't know, the track itself is based actually off of the F1 track in Istanbul, Turkey. The
Correct.
layout,
It's a scale
the
replica.
scale replica. And I said I got a chance to drive it in 206 a couple of years ago. And man, it is so much fun to drive. I really enjoyed the flow of the racetrack and really had a lot of fun there. So again, you guys, you're kind of wrapping things up in Texas with 3 races between now and the end of September, right? You've got this race the first week of August, second, third, fourth. And then, then you go to, as we said, DKC at the end of August, and then you wrap it all up back at Amarillo one more time for what looks to be one of the most successful TSRS seasons you guys have had ever. It's big.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot complain. Splitting it up like this has been really refreshing, I think, for everybody. They kind of got that little bit of break if they wanted it.
Yep.
And the kids still got to be kids for the summer. It wasn't just racing or in the heat of the summer. It gets so hot here, right?
Does,
so we tried to break it up, and so I'm actually almost starting to look at dates for next year. That's how close we are to wrapping it up.
I like it. Yep.
It's you know, gonna be a quick whirl, and then you know, I think it's just going to wrap up really nicely. So,
well, Brittany, listen, thank you so much for taking the time out of this evening to come and chat with us. I'm really looking forward to the IKF Grand Zone. David and I keep talking about the fact we got to get down and try to race that as one of our head-to-head battles sometime. It's something I've not got a chance to do, and it's definitely on the bucket list. For those of you who are in Karters,
5 weeks to plan. Come on, let's do it.
I know. Figure out a way to get down there for sure. Folks, if you are racing, remember registration is open. $4.99. I can't believe it's that cheap. $4.99 for Friday practice, race entry, and a set of tires. It's like you said, it's the cheapest national you're gonna do all year long. What a tremendous deal. That is awesome. Brittany, thanks again. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Folks, is Brittany Lobaugh from the Texas Sprint Racing Series. I'll drop her down here and wrap things up. David, of course, took off on us. His internet pooched out on me just as we got going. He'll have that back again soon. Again, thanks for joining us, folks. I do appreciate it. IKF Sprint Grand Nationals, one of those iconic events. If you've never done it, figure out a way to get down there to Texas. And again, big thank you to Brittany for joining us. And of course, David, really starting things off with me. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, folks. My name is Rob Howden.